I've often heard the marathon be referred to as a tale of two races, and that you should run the first with your head and the second with your heart. But in my experience, the marathon is so much more than two races. In fact, depending on how you break it up, it's a tale of 7 or 8 or 9 races, each with its own characteristics and things to do to succeed and thrive in your marathon. So here they are, the phases of running a marathon, filmed on the run. From the start of your marathon to about mile 2 or 3, it can be all about the nerves. After all of the training and all of the running and all of the miles and all of the carb loading, you are finally running your marathon. But those first few miles can feel surprisingly difficult. You're often jockeying for position, you're fighting a crowd. You might still be stressing out about pre-race traffic or parking issues. It can be really hard to settle in, but know your race plan and know the pace that you want to run. Find that pace and run your race. The next phase of the marathon is one that I call Hell's Yeah, and it usually comes between about miles 3 and 8. You've found your rhythm, you've found your pace, and you still have some excitement and enthusiasm left over from finally getting started. In this time, it's important that you continue to run the race that you had planned on running. Resist the urge to speed up and bank time in case you need a little bit of time cushion later. Fuel if you planned on fueling. Take a water if you planned on water. Don't skip a gel because you're feeling strong. Run the race that you planned on and trained on running. The next phase of running a marathon is when stuff starts to get real, and it usually arrives between miles about 9 and 13. In this phase, you're still feeling good, but there's still a long way to go. You haven't even reached the halfway point yet. In this phase, continue to run the race that you intended to run. Run the pace you meant to run, fuel and hydrate when you intended to fuel and hydrate. Trust your training, your body knows what to do. The next phase of the marathon is what I call the middle miles, and they tend to arrive between miles about 13 and 18. For me, the middle miles are always a little bit of a wasteland. I still feel okay, but I'm starting to get tired and maybe even a little bit bored. During these middle miles, it's important not to dwell on any minor little issues that are arising. Consider if there's something that you can do to minimize or prevent a little issue from getting worse. For example, fueling or hydrating to prevent a cramp from getting worse, or adjusting a shirt if it's starting to chafe. But if there's nothing that you can do to minimize or prevent the issue, and it isn't bad enough for you to consider dropping out, don't consider it too much and don't dwell on it. Miles 18 and 19 of the marathon are for me always the dark times. While I very rarely hit the wall or bonk during a marathon, miles 18 and 19 seem to go on forever. I'm tired, I'm bored, I want it to be done with already, but I know I still have a long way to go. In these dark times, it's important to not dwell on whatever's happening with your body, your mind, or your race, and not write the review of your race until it's over. Focus on breaking up your run into as small of pieces as you need to. Focus on getting from where you are to the next stop sign, the next stop light, or the next intersection. Anything to keep you moving forward. Mile 20, yay! You've hit a number that begins with a 2. This isn't a phase so much as it is a milestone, but for me, it always gives me a huge mental and physical boost when I've finally hit a number that begins with a 2. Mile 20 to 26 of the marathon is very often the longest 10K ever. Again, in these last 6 miles, don't dwell on whatever's happening in your body and your mind. Mentally, it can be helpful to have and I know I can do it distance. For me, it's a lap of a local lake. I know on my very worst day, I can do a lap of the lake. So when I get to mile 23 of a marathon, instead of thinking, oh my God, I still have 3 more miles to run, I can think, well, now I only have 3 more miles and that's a loop of the lake. I know I can do that. Mile 26, you are just about there. You have just about completed your marathon. In this last 0.2 miles, be in the moment, savor the victory, and pay attention to what's going on around you. Wait until after you cross the finish line to fiddle with and stop your watch. Also, feel free to cry at will. Completing a marathon can be a super emotional experience, so enjoy it, and congratulations.